Welcome to the All Rise Podcast Sunday Scaries. I'm your host, Christine, a civil litigator and personal mentor. Every Sunday, we'll tackle those dreaded Sunday Scaries together to demystify the practice of law and provide you with actionable tips and guidance to face your week ahead. So grab a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and join me while we turn those Sunday Scaries into stepping stones towards your success. Let's get started. Welcome back to the All Rise Mentor Sunday Scary podcast, where we tackle the weekly stresses of building a successful legal career, one issue at a time. I'm Christine Barker, and today we're going to address a topic that often goes unspoken, but it really is deeply felt by many, many women in the field, me included, and that's isolation. Being a woman attorney brings up its own set of unique challenges, and at times it can feel like the odds are constantly being stacked against us. From struggling to find mentorship, balancing expectations at home and at work, and then handling the just inherent biases that there are. Many women in the legal field experience this feeling of isolation at some point, and it's critical that we really do talk about it openly so that we can explore some strategies to overcome these challenges. Today we're going to dive into some of the more common challenges that women face. And more importantly, we're going to discuss some actionable ways to tackle each one of them. So let's get started. Challenge number one, and this is really why I started All Rise Mentors, and this is the lack of female mentorship or role models. Now, I've had female mentors and I've had role models, both male and female, in the legal profession, but finding them is often hard, and it can feel a little weird asking somebody to mentor you or to be, to be a role model. So finding them can be a really big challenge. For many women, finding a mentor who truly understands their perspective can be tough, especially in a male-dominated firm or practice. And I'm sorry, we're still there. Women are making huge strides in the legal field. There's a lot of diversity going on, but it still really is a male-dominated field. Many females have been told that they feel like they're trying to reinvent the wheel, navigating career developments on their own. So what can we do about this? One really effective approach is seeking mentorship beyond the walls of your firm, looking into women's legal organizations, bar associations, professional groups that support women in law, but also looking outside of your organizations. Just recently, I was, having happy hour with a group of girlfriends, and I'm the only lawyer in the group. One of my girlfriends does auditing for banks. Another girlfriend does accounting. We're all in different fields, but we all do kind of feel that isolation. And even talking to women in different fields, professional women in different fields, can help bridge that gap of isolation. It really helps to just kind of bounce ideas off of other women, challenges that they're having, and ways that they're overcoming it. Obviously, yes, reaching out to bar organizations and professional groups, all focused towards women, are really great. My firm has a women in construction group, and we meet once a month. We talk about challenges that we're facing with work, with marketing, with education, those kinds of things. So all of those areas are really great areas for you to reach out to and diversify your own support group. It doesn't have to be all women in construction. It doesn't have to be all women in law. It doesn't even have to be all women, but those are some really great places to start. Another strategy that a mentor of mine had suggested to me, and at first I thought it was kind of weird, but it was this idea of a personal board of advisors. You think about it, a diverse group of people whose opinions and advice you actually trust. Like I said, they don't have to be all women. They don't have to even be in the legal profession. They should just have some insight and some experience that's going to help you grow. It helps give you fresh perspective and guidance, that feeling of support, which essentially we're all craving on whatever legal path or whatever career path we're on. The second challenge is a work-life balance expectation. We talk about this all the time. I think it's probably the number one topic that comes up is work-life balance. We often feel the pressure to excel not only at work, but also in our personal lives. Sometimes it's with the added expectation of managing family responsibilities. This burden of having to do and be it all can lead to an overwhelming amount of stress. And again, that feeling of isolation, because we feel like we're the only ones struggling to keep up. Not true. Everyone is going through this, even the ones that look like they can do it backwards and in high heels. Addressing this challenge starts with setting some clear boundaries. And that's understanding that it's okay to say no when your plate is full. I struggle with this. Saying no is so hard for me. I call myself a recovering people pleaser, but that doesn't mean I still don't slip into the people pleasing aspect of my personality. I want to say yes to every client that walks in the door. I want to say yes to every partner who says, Christine, can you handle this case for me? I want to say yes to every experience, going to my friend's wedding. We did a Halloween party last night. I want to say yes to all of these things. And I do need to be able to recognize that there are times that I have to say no. When my plate is too full, I have to say no. And by creating priorities in your life, what I like to do is I sit down and each year I revisit my top 3 core values, my core priorities in life. And be if it's work or family or getting this all rise, off the ground for me. I sit down and I focus on that. So it makes saying no easier. Do these things, does this new opportunity fit with the core values or my main goal for the year? And if it's a no, then I can make a decision about whether I say no to it, whether I delay it, whether I delegate it to somebody else, or I just don't do it. So those are some really good things to really sit down and get to know yourself and what your values are so that you then can create those boundaries. Consider discussing flexible work options with your firm if possible. Experiment with time management techniques. My personal assistant who helps me with all of the All Rise stuff, her and I just sat down this week and we're trying out a new time management program called Asana, I think. There's a bunch of them out there, but I really wanted to focus on how can I create more time for the things that are core values to me and meet those goals that I've set for myself. And to do that, I have to be more balanced and I have to be more organized with my time so that I can say yes to the things that I want to do and I can say no to the things that are beyond my boundaries. This is going to really help with that work-life balance between the work and the life balance for you. I mentioned a little bit, but one of the key things for me is delegation. As an attorney, it is especially important that as we're advancing our careers, that it's easy to fall into the habit of doing everything ourselves. Nobody's going to write a report or a brief or argue a motion or take a deposition or try a case like me. They're not going to. And I do, like I said, recovering perfectionist. I think I'm the only one who can do it. And that's not true. I have to be able to delegate to my team. It's not sustainable for me to do everything. And it also forces me to let go of that perfectionism thing because no one's going to do it like me. No one is going, and I'm not even going to do it perfectly. But I have to be willing to let go and delegate and know that the person who's doing this work is going to do a good job. They're going to do a good enough job. It doesn't have to be perfect. One of my favorite mantras is done is better than perfect. And it is so hard for me sometimes because I want it to be perfect. It can't. I will get so caught up in my own head, I'll never get anything done. By focusing on your highest value activities and allowing others to support you, you're actually setting yourself up for better long-term success. I know it's hard. It's a struggle. It's hard for me too, but I'm telling you, once you get comfortable with delegating, and you can do these things in your personal life as well. How many meal services are out there? From Blue Apron and HelloFresh and, good Lord, DoorDash now. You can Instacart your groceries to you. You can delegate some of those things. You do not have to be the woman who makes the gourmet meal every night, does all the grocery shopping, does all the back to school preparation, and has, a high powered job and billing, 200 hours a month and trying all of the cases and writing all the motions. You don't have to be the woman who does all of that. Know what your high value activities are. You do those. And then my favorite, my 4Ds, you delete them because you're just not going to do them. They're not worth your time and you don't have to do them. You delegate them to someone else. You delay them. Maybe you get an extension. Maybe you push it off. Maybe you do, know that you can get it to it next week. Or you delight in them. Just do them. Do them. They're your tasks. They're the best place for you to be spending your time. Number 3 challenge, and this probably should have been number 1, but they can't all be, is imposter syndrome and confidence gaps. We have all been there, and anybody who tells you that they haven't are lying. It is a common experience among women attorneys and women in general, particularly in high-stake, male-dominating environments, to struggle with imposter syndrome. Many women feel like they have to work twice as hard to prove themselves. That leads to self-doubt, feelings of isolation, especially in moments of big decisions. To tackle imposter syndrome, we need to start by reminding ourselves of your own accomplishments. Keep a record of your achievements. I have, with my entire team, what we call evidence of excellence. Anytime somebody does something good on my team, and that could be a great settlement, it could be winning a motion, it could be just even, an atta girl from one of our clients, I put it in a file called evidence of excellence. And I have that there so that we can constantly go back and review them. By recording your achievements and positive feedback you get from clients or colleagues, it starts to silence that inner voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that tells you that somebody else could do a better job. Going back on that list and reviewing it is really powerful, and it empowers you with the reminders of what you truly are capable of accomplishing. Another way to combat imposter syndrome is to build a community where you can openly discuss your feelings. I talked a little bit about earlier this week about all of the hats that we have to wear and when we have to be strong and a badass in a courtroom, and then when we have to be compassionate and when we have to, kind of set aside our emotions and really put our clients' needs first. And by doing that, it does feel isolating when you feel like you're constantly changing hats. But when you can find a group of colleagues or a support system. And again, it doesn't have to be all women and it doesn't have to be all in the legal field. But you will be surprised how many women feel the same way you do. And having a safe place for you to really openly discuss these feelings. Now, I will say, not every place is a good place to openly discuss these feelings. You don't want to talk about your inadequacies with your client. They don't need to know that you're struggling with. They are paying you to be confident. They are paying you to do a job. They are paying you to make those tough decisions. Where you do want to have these kinds of conversations are with a small group of women in your firm, professional associations, stuff with your colleagues, your significant other. My husband and I do not really like to talk a lot about law because we're both attorneys and we've had enough of it at the office. But when it comes to feelings of, feelings of inadequacy, or I feel like I didn't make a good decision, or I have a big decision that I need to bounce an idea off of. He's there. I can talk to him. So that helps to reduce that feeling of isolation. Just knowing other people are going through the same thing, and you can get better feedback from them, especially when they're not right in that big decision isn't right in their face. It's in your face. And it's hard to see the forest for the trees sometimes. So it's good to have a group that you can talk to and bounce these kinds of ideas off of. Another big challenge is the feeling of limited opportunities and advancement. This is a structural challenge that often impacts women's feelings of isolation, and that is the limited opportunities for advancement. Whether you feel like there's a lack of representation in leadership roles or being overlooked for a significant case, Many women feel like they're being sidelined and they're not fully recognized for their potential. That's really hard because two things. Number one, it might just be in your head, and that's the imposter syndrome coming in, or it might be a reality. And trying to decipher between whether this is just me feeling this way or if I really am facing this true structural challenge. So, how do we address this? First, no one is going to advocate for you better than you. Advocate for yourself. Do not assume that others will notice your hard work. I used to do this as a young attorney. I thought if I just put my head down and worked really, really hard, someone would notice me. They'd notice my hard work. They would give me the promotion. They would give me the raise that I so much earned and deserved. But they're paying attention to themselves. They're not paying attention to you. Do not expect other people to advocate for you. Regularly communicate your goals and achievements with your supervisors. Ask for feedback and how you can advance. I did it for myself just this weekend, and it was a hard conversation, but there's a next level that I want to take my business to, my practice to. And I sat down and had that hard conversation. People don't know what you want unless you tell them. And I will tell you, this works at home too. My husband does not know to take out the garbage unless I tell him, or to put his dirty dishes from the sink into the dishwasher. Open communication about your goals and expectations can go so far. And it also gets you the feedback because you don't know what you don't know. I didn't know what I needed to be doing in order to take my book of business to the next step until I sat down and I discussed that with the people who were already there. What does my book of business need to look like? What does my originations need to be? How do I focus on in lowering my ARs? All of those things, I need to ask for the feedback in order to know what I need to do. Otherwise, I'm just going at this blind. Be strategic too. Look for cases or projects that align with your career goals and make it known you're interested in taking more responsibility. Every year at the end of the year, I like to sit down with my team and we do kind of a year-end recap. We talk about our achievements, we talk about lessons learned, and then we set goals for ourselves for the coming year. And it's really good for you to continue to revisit those goals. I like to revisit them once a month. I sit down at the beginning of the month. What's my big goal for the year? How can I break this down into smaller, manageable goals? And then at the end of the month, I recap how I got there. I like to do that at the end of the year as well. I do it from personally, and I also do it with my team. It's one of the things that I address in our attorney training kit is how to take a big career goal and break it down into small, manageable, bite-sized goals that you can tackle daily, weekly, monthly. But it is important that you let your supervisors know, these are my goals. I want to try a case this year. Or if you're a new attorney, I want to take a deposition. I want to argue a motion for summary judgment. And then you be on the lookout for those kinds of cases. When a new case comes in, let your partner know, hey, this is something that I want to tackle. By actively pursuing these opportunities, you can create your own path for achievement, even in environments where you feel like you're being overlooked. Be noisy. That old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Be the squeaky wheel. Let people know what it is that you want, and then you go out and get it. Go out and really focus on those achievements. Challenge number 5, and this one is a touchy one, and that is feeling excluded from informal networking circuits. This is another one that comes up very often. And many male attorneys build client relationships and connections with partners over activities like golf and sporting events. Now, I don't golf. I tried. When I first got into this field, I bought a pair of secondhand golf clubs. I took some, entry-level golf classes, and I'm terrible at it. Hand-eye coordination is not my strong suit. And I was faking it when I would go out there. And clients could tell. Potential clients could tell. My colleagues could tell. I was not having a good time. That was not my strong suit. And I know in a male-dominated profession like law, it feels like you're being excluded from the boys club because I'm just not good at golf. So then I'm just not going to be able to network. That's not true. I'm good at a lot of other things. So for women, these spaces can sometimes feel uncomfortable, inaccessible, and it's going to lead to that sense of isolation and missed opportunities. My advice and what I did for myself was don't be afraid to create your own networking opportunities. If traditional networking events don't resound with you, you're not a golfer like me, start something that does. It could be a breakfast group, it could be a book club, it could be hosting casual lunches with colleagues. Networking doesn't have to fit into a single mold. For example, I'm a reader. I love to read. And I've started a book club. Just something, something easy once a month. I think we actually do it probably once every 2 months because we're all super busy. But we like to sit down. And this is with a group of women. They are all professionals. I don't think any of them are lawyers. I'm the only one, but they're all women professionals. And we sit down, we read a book together. We all do it by Zoom. We're not even in the same state. And that's where you can really reach across to create these networking groups. I've gotten so much referral work from these women, referred to me personally or referred to my firm. And it's because when you run in these kinds of groups, up the level of caliber of women that you hang out with, and you're going to up the level of exposure. Networking doesn't have to be difficult. I remember this one time, my girlfriend and I, we were colleagues. We worked together. We've become very close friends, and we were at a wine tasting event. Her and I love wine tasting, and we're having a great time. And we're really not, and it was all construction. It was a bunch of, it was the AGC, the Association of General Contractors. And we're having this lovely wine tasting event, and her and I are just connecting with people, just having a nice conversation. And we noticed another attorney who is not a wine drinker. She doesn't care for wine. She doesn't drink wine. That's out of her comfort zone as well. And she was walking around the tables, just putting stacks of business cards on the tables. And my girlfriend and I looked at each other and I'm like, wow, she feels so out of place here. And she came here for one reason and one reason only, and that was to pass out business cards. I will tell you, I passed out business cards that night only to the people who asked for them. And that was after we had a conversation, after we got to know each other on a personal level. Remember, client development is a personal relationship. Clients want to work with lawyers that they know, that they like, that they trust. And you only get to that level is if you get to know them personally. I'm not saying you got to go throw back a bunch of beers with people and, it doesn't have to be that old school, behind closed door weird thing. No, it's get to know the people that are your people. You want to work with people who are known like you. So if you focus on that, the things that you are good at, the things that resound with you, the areas that you enjoy. I'm a football fan. I would go to sporting events. I do take my clients to sporting events, but I'm not going to take them golfing because that just doesn't work for me. Find a thing that works for you. Find your people that you network with, and the work will find you. Also, when you are networking, approach networking with intention and identify who you want to connect with, and then find creative ways to do it. But find creative and authentic ways to do it. If you like shared interests, like I said, sporting events, I love football. We've got a group of us that go watch the Saints every Sunday. It's Sunday. I'm getting ready to go watch a Saints game. The goal though here is to form meaningful connection, not just any connection. Number 6, bias and discrimination. It's still there. The legal community has made huge strides in bias and discrimination. My firm in particular. There's so many certifications out there to help the advancement of women, but there is still the elephant in the room. It's there. Gender bias, either conscious or unconscious, can lead a lot of women to feel underestimated, excluded from decision-making process, which can both be isolating and demoralizing. If you encounter bias, you have every right to address it. Start by documenting things that make you feel undervalued or excluded. This doesn't mean you have to turn this stuff in to HR. If you're feeling undervalued or excluded, just document it. Really take a moment to think about what occurred and how it made you feel, why it made you feel that way, and then what can be done about it. If you can do something about it, do something about it. But if you think it does warrant going to your HR, don't be afraid to. You can have that conversation with your supervisor or with your HR department and be assertive about your boundaries and your rights, and make sure that you are letting them know the circumstances. Because like I said, bias and discrimination can be unconscious. They might not realize that they're doing it. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but that doesn't mean that the behavior should continue. And you really need to focus on determining how it makes you feel, what you can do to overcome it or prevent it, and then decide if you do need to escalate it, and then don't be afraid to escalate it if need be. Building alliances is also really crucial. Find alliances both in male and female who support an inclusive work environment and who will stand up for you when you need it. A supportive network of colleagues can make a huge difference in creating a more equal and empowering work environment. We're all looking to advance together when we're helping each other and not pushing each other down. It's really a struggle sometimes, even with other women. And like I said, not all women are going to be your tribe, but finding the ones that are. And your tribe doesn't have to be all women. Find, those men in your group, in your firm, in your support system that do want to uplift and empower women. One of my greatest mentors, who recently retired, I still reach out to him and ask him for advice and guidance, and he's been just invaluable to me. So search out those opportunities, but know that if you are encountering any sort of discrimination or bias, whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's not you, and you do need to speak up, because if you don't, no one will. And there's probably a woman out there who won't speak up for herself. And we really do need to be a network and a group of women who uplift each other and help one another. Finally, this is one I struggle with, and that is the perception of aggression versus assertive. There's a double standard between aggressiveness and assertiveness, and it really is. Most women will encounter it. Many women do. Pretty much all of us, I think, have this feeling that we walk a really, really fine line. That if we are perceived as too aggressive, our assertiveness is perceived as too aggressive, and if we're not assertive, we're perceived as too soft. This double standard can make it very, very challenging to feel authentic. And it can be, and again, another source of isolation in the legal field. One approach here is to develop a communication style that feels true to you. Do not try and model yourself after what other people expect, and instead focus on being clear, concise, and assertive in a way that feels genuine. For example, one of my good friends, who is a mentor to me, actually the one I went to the wine tasting event to, she has a assertive communication style that I used to try to emulate because I saw that it was effective for her. And I felt that I wasn't assertive enough. I thought that I was timid and I got pushed around. And I would watch her in a courtroom or in a deposition or in trial, and I'm like, ooh, she doesn't get pushed around. So I started trying to emulate her. It wasn't authentic. Not at all. I would always be the second best Rosemary. And so I needed to learn my own style of communication, my own style of assertiveness. And it took a while to develop that. I had to try on a couple of different ways of communicating. And for me, I found out that direct is the best for me. If I beat around the bush, I look soft. and I feel soft. I feel like I'm all, One of the things that I've recently been cutting out of my email communications is if I'm following up with someone, I used to say, hey, just following up with this, or just circling back. The just for me made me feel inadequate. It made me feel like sorry to bother you, when in reality, I'm not sorry to bother you. I've asked for this 3 times. You still haven't given it to me. It was owed to me or due to me 3 weeks ago. So now I just take the just out and I will say, good afternoon, circling back on this. It was due on this date. When can I expect it? For me, being direct feels authentic for me, and I don't feel I don't feel like I'm being too aggressive. But that's just me. Someone may think I am. But it also feels genuine with me. Communication coaches and mentors can be really, really invaluable here, helping you find a style that balances your strength, warmth, and ensures that your voice is being heard and you're being respected. All right, so there you have it, the 7 common challenges that contribute to the feeling of isolation for women attorneys, along with some practical strategies to address each one. It's not easy, I get it, but remember that you're not alone. You may feel isolated, but you are not alone. Many women in the law are navigating these same exact challenges, and by sharing our experiences and lifting one another up, we can feel more supported and feel more connected. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the All Rise Mentors Sunday Scaries podcast. I hope this episode gave you some helpful insight and some actionable steps. Remember, isolation is actually a shared experience, and overcoming it starts with opening up and having conversations like these. Let's keep supporting one another, and we'll continue to all rise in this profession. Thanks so much. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.